Hello. Hopefully the volume is up. Almost. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Turn off these phones. Turn off these phones. Okay. Hello. Hopefully your Thursday went well, folks. Hopefully your Thursday went well at work or wherever you happen to find yourself throughout the day. Throughout the day. Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. It is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am where I'm supposed to be, and you will be where you are supposed to be. Once you come to this live, of course, of course, of course, of course. So, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in to our international friends. Hello, hello, or good afternoon, good evening, etc. This live is being brought to you by Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. His link is in the chat, folks. His link is in the chat. Go over to his channel, check him out to see what all it is that he is over there talking about. He is a certified financial planner. And as always, please make sure that you check the description box. Check the description box. It has great information on there, how you can contact him if you're interested in chatting with him about your financial journey now and into the future. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. His link is in the chat. His link is in the chat, folks. So, yes, let's get into it. Car chat, folks. Car chat, car chat. I got to keep this by my side because I have to read that. I have to read that. We have the United States and people elsewhere in the world have seen. Hello, the Bud Files. Hello, the Bud Files. How are you? How are you? Welcome in. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. We have seen what has happened mostly here. My voice always seems to try to go out. We have seen pretty much what happens here when there's an incident of driving while black. It has been termed that or coined that because sadly, a lot of Black men and some Black women have lost their lives in routine traffic stops. Routine traffic stops. Now, some may have been a little bit more than that, but for the most part, what one would consider a routine traffic stop, etc. And as we all know, it's unacceptable. Sadly, these things keep happening. Why aren't these things happening? And what are you doing with regards to talking to your teenager or even your adult sons and daughters? Because the ladies aren't exempt either from, you know, doing things to de-escalate. And it shouldn't be that the person in the car is having to de-escalate something when nothing has happened and it's just a routine traffic stop, etc. But it's a whole big thing, a whole big something, folks, here. So driving while black, basically these routine traffic stops that are done by the cops in people's local city or state, by their state police, etc. And they end up deadly. The person in the car ends up dying, etc. So what are we teaching our young men? And I probably just say young men throughout this because most of the time in the black community, in the black community, we are being told or have to tell our young sons when they first start driving and beyond how what to do when we are stopped by the police, pulled over by the police, what the interaction should look like on our part. Sadly, we are having to have this type of discussion with our sons when, as we know, but we know that it is not the way that it is. These things turn out deadly for the people that share my reflection that are black. And when things should be equal or the same across the board, when they're stopping black folks, Caucasian folks, Hispanic folks, the whole gamut, it should be the same. If you're just whatever the infraction is, if it's something basic, the tail light is out, like I put in the title, the tail light is out, then let them know the tail light is out. If a ticket is due, give them a ticket and be on your way. And be on your way. Now, of course, the person in the car, if something is going on there, that may be a whole different situation. But as we know, for the most part, these routine traffic stops end up deadly for the people that share my reflection, most in the Black community. Others communities also, but I'm here to talk about that. I think I'm going to read this little thing here, and I think this is what parents are telling, teaching, and making sure that our sons know how to do this back, forward, and up and down, all the good stuff. It says, shaken by cases in which seemingly routine traffic stops turn deadly, many Black parents rehearse with their children what to do if they are pulled over. Lower your car window so officers have a clear line of sight. Turn on the interior lights. Keep your hands visible. Have your license and registration accessible. And for God's sake, let the officer know you are reaching for them so he doesn't shoot you. And I found that when I just did a Google search, I think I put in what Black men should know if pulled over by the cops or someone other like that. But yeah, lower your car window so the officer can have a clear line of sight to you. Turn on the interior lights. Make sure everything is lit up. Keep your hands visible. Best place is probably on the steering wheel or the dashboard, etc. Have your license and registration accessible. And most of the time, people have it in the glove compartment, and that is why I'm saying if it's in your glove compartment, let the officer know in advance that you're reaching into the glove compartment to get the license and registration that they're asking for. If you're going into your back pocket and you need to use your hand or hands for that, let them know that also. And two, they will probably ask, do you have any type of firearm in the car? And you would answer yes or no, etc. And then they may ask you, present that that license also into if I guess the person states require that. But yeah, these are some of the things that we have to teach and tell our young men and women to do when we are pulled over by the cops. And it is sad, and it is life-saving if you do those things, and it's just a routine traffic stop that does not turn deadly. Those are some good things to do. But definitely do them all the time, all the time. It says the parents are rehearsing, so this is a sad commentary, but here we are. So your teenager's going to be out there, hopefully for the parents. And I say teenagers because they're just starting and they're just starting to drive. They will be out there with you and sometimes without you. And as they get older, more so without you, etc. And then depending on your child, that may be all the time after they get their license, etc. That may be all the time. So they definitely need to know these things to keep themselves alive. Because we know things can get out of hand quickly. And it may be the case that the person that's driving the car, the young man that's driving the car, he may be a little tense because he's stopped by the police and he's probably thinking, oh, mom and dad, they're going to kill me when they find out I was stopped by the police or I got a ticket, et cetera, et cetera. And his tone of voice may be a little bit different. And the thing is with anyone that is hired in these type of positions of power, for lack of a better phrase, these positions of power, they can abuse it. They can abuse it also into. And if they think that someone like your son that's in the car that's being stopped is being aggressive in their particular mind or aggressive with their tone, then they may, get amped up also into and yeah, just what the after the and means, etc. And we can't depend on their wearing their body cams. They can be wearing them, but having them turned on is a whole nother thing. So that is I think something else that people have been talking about when these incidents happen. And I know at one time when they didn't have the body cams and, they were saying we're going to get, body cams, et cetera, and all this other stuff. And some police departments did, some didn't, et cetera. But if they got them and they don't utilize them, it's for nothing. And the dash cams also in too, that's for nothing also. The stuff needs to be turned on in order for people to get the footage and see the footage, etc. So just having the dash cam or you thinking that the dash cams are supposed to be on in your local area by your local police department, etc., or your state police department. No, that is not always the case. That is not always the case. So yeah. So how do you have the conversation? How do you have the conversation? Do you wait for an incident to happen? Or do you go to some incidents that have happened and you go to YouTube and search out and have your son look at you and your son or sons look at the information there? Do you just tell them maybe you had a personal experience or maybe your husband had a personal experience with this, or they know of someone like their brother or their cousin or their nephew when they started driving had an incident such as this and how it turned out, etc., just so that they can really and fully understand that driving while black is problematic. I think it's problematic for others. It's not problematic for me, you, or the next person that's out here driving, trying to be free here in these United States, full on free as much, sadly, as much as possible here in these United States, and finding that there are people that want to do evil. And also, along with that, as we know that the local local government, the city, etc., and the state are hiring folks, etc. Like if I was to go down there, or my grandson was to go down there and apply to be in the academy and do all the things that needed to be done, et cetera, and then we would have some type of power, or we may feel empowered, etc. When that happens, you don't know the crop of people that. Hello, Rooted in Essential Oils. How are you? How are you? Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. You never know what these people have been taught from 0 to 18 and beyond, and what things stuck and what things went out of their brain, etc. Or when they get some power, how they will react just to the power in of itself, what they perceive as power, etc. There is a power dynamic there. So I don't want to confuse anyone in thinking that there isn't. If things were poured into them that were racial or racist, etc., or prejudice or something, or having bias, etc., then that does not quickly escape someone just because they put on a uniform or something or go through some type of training, etc. It does not escape them that easily, folks. So we have to be mindful that if they have those type of thoughts already, it's not going to go away. When they get the power, then they may do something to exercise that type of power or perceive power over the people that don't share their reflection. You all get what it is that I am saying. And also, just in general, if people have evil thoughts, bad intentions, and the moment that they get a chance to act on that in any way, however small, medium, or large, then most people will probably end up doing that if they have that evil intention and thoughts in their hearts and mind. Hello, Latanya's Cooking for the Soul. Plus more, plus more. How are you? Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in, folks. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. So yeah, how do you talk to your children, your sons, about this particular thing? Trust, it's a needed chat that has to be had, and of course, it is life saving. It is life saving. Hey, do these things. The life you save may be your own. It's never been more true in that case. And of course, this can happen at any time, whether your son is traveling alone, or there are other folks in the car. We just have to be careful and mindful. And I just want to read this little thing that I saw, and this was something from June 1999. We know that there have been many incidents of Black men dying at the hands of the police during these routine traffic stops. But I just want to read this one to you. It's from the ACLU site. Oh, I did see before this, on PBS, and this was maybe back in 2020 when I was doing my little research. And I didn't look at the film because I know I would be triggered, as the woke word is now, that they had something. I wrote it down. What was it? Oh my God. Yes. Driving while Black, race, space, and mobility. And and I know that there are some stories that I've heard just briefly about when, even though the car made people able to travel and go places, etc. For Black people, it was different. We still live in the segregated South, and it was probably segregated in other places too. But you just hear about the segregated South. Even though we were able to, at some point, purchase a car, we still had the segregation. You know, the the majority race, still being oppressive in every which way, shape, form, or fashion. So we had to be careful when traveling, and there were probably things that they did when they were traveling. And I'm sure that this documentary probably um, put that out. And I heard something about the Chitlin Circuit. I'm not quite sure, but I think when they were driving around in places, there was probably certain times that they went. There were certain hotels that they could stay at, etc. All this other stuff when segregation was was prevalent. It's probably more prevalent now than then, but that's a whole nother topic for another time. But yeah, we have to be careful. But in this story was by the ACLU, Driving While Black, Racial Profiling on Our Nation's Highways. And I just want to read the story about what happened to this Army guy. On a hot summer afternoon in August 1998, not that long ago, folks, 37-year-old U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Rossano V. Gerald and his young son Gregory drove across the Oklahoma border into a nightmare. A career soldier and a highly decorated veteran of Desert Storm and Operation United Shield in Somalia, Sergeant First Class Gerald, a black man of Panamanian descent, found that he could not travel more than 30 minutes through the state without being stopped twice. First by the Roland City Police Department and then by the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. During the second stop, which lasted 2.5 hours, the troopers terrorized Sergeant First Class Gerald's 12-year-old son with a police dog, placed both father and son in a closed car without with the air conditioning off and fans blowing hot air, and warned that the dog would attack if they attempted to escape. Halfway through the episode, perhaps realizing the extent of their lawlessness, the troopers shut off the patrol car's video evidence camera. Mhm. Perhaps, too, the officers understood the power of an image to stir people to action. Sergeant First Class Gerald was only an infant in 1963 when a stunned nation watched on television as Birmingham Police Commissioner Bull Connor used powerful fire hoses and vicious police attack dogs against nonviolent Black civil rights protesters. That incident and Martin Luther King Jr.'s stirring I Have a Dream speech at the historic March on Washington in August of that year were the low and high points, respectively, of the great era of civil rights legislation, the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. How did it come to be then that 35 years later, Sergeant First Class Gerald found himself standing on the side of a dusty road next to a barking police dog, listening to his son weep while officers rummaged through his belongings simply because he was Black? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It's very powerful. Very powerful. And this Army guy, of course, went into the Army, serving his country, protecting and defending the U.S., the citizens in the U.S., off to war, all different, in the different areas that he went to. I think it's the Gulf War and Somalia, all these different theaters, arenas, etc. And to come back and to face that. And it's reminiscent of something that probably happened when after World War II and probably the Korean War, when they came back, when our soldiers came back here, the Black soldiers came back here and faced face all of that prejudice and beyond racism that the U.S. had to offer. So yeah, sad, sad, sad. And talk about PTSD, and for his son, you, that can probably never escape his brain or his son's. Wow, wow, wow. But yeah, the tail light being out, driving while Black, we as parents having to tell our sons, grandsons, nephews, and the young ladies also in too, that we have to be careful when we're out here driving on these roads, and the things to do when we are out here and we do get pulled over. And I'll read it again. Lower your car window so the officers can have a clear line of sight. Turn on the interior lights. Keep your hands visible on the dashboard or the steering wheel. Have your license and registration accessible. And for God's sakes, it says, let the officer know you are reaching for them so he doesn't shoot you. Yeah, because you're going to have to take your hand off the wheel or the dashboard to put your hands in your pocket or go for the glove compartment. But yeah, good information to know, folks, good information to know, and definitely pass on to your sons and daughters. And I think that in most Black families, that information is passed on. It is my hope that if you are a Black family and you live in a predominantly, white area, Caucasian area, etc., that you still tell your sons the same, give them the same information, because they will be Black or present as Black when they are out here driving the life. Yeah, yeah. This is, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just something, folks. So you can drop your links, AI Spill It Girl TV, while I close out this live. Yeah. Just make sure that your children, sons, daughters, cousins, nieces, nephews, grandsons get this information, because the life that they say may be their own. And also, you may want to speak to them while you're doing it with regards to, their tone, etc. It's a shame that these things have to be taught to our children just so that they can live to see another day and just so that they can come home, etc. It's a shame that it has to be even discussed. But here we are. Here we are. It has to be discussed, sadly. It has to be discussed, sadly. So please make sure that you're, telling your family members this. And if you don't have any sons, anything like that, you may have nephews, ask their parents, hey, have you talked to your son about, what to do if they're pulled over in a traffic stop, if they're at the age or close to the age to where they can drive, all that good stuff. Yes. Glad I caught you. Thank you for sharing. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, Latanya. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. But yeah, the information needs to get out there. The information needs to get out there, folks. And like I said, don't think that you're going to be spared just because you may live in a different community that don't share my reflection, etc. You need to know. You need to know this, because your travels may go beyond just being in the area where you live. It may expand outward, of course. It is my hope. It is my hope. Because you get in your car and you go out and you explore and you learn things. You go to places, meet people, all this other good stuff. And the last thing that you want, to happen to ruin, a good night that you had someplace, etc. And I think in the story I read, most of it, he had just came from a friend's house, had not drinking any alcohol or anything like that, and got stopped twice. Yeah. So yeah. Please make sure that you tell your sons, daughters, nieces, nephew, cousins. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. And with that said, please make sure you go check out my backup channel, Cash into Envelopes. Check out my community wall, my shorts, all of that good stuff, my lives, all that good stuff. And back to see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for my silent lives. And they go for a little bit, 3, 4, or 5 hours. So for the early birds that want to come on in, chat a little bit, because I will be there. I will be there to chat with you in the mornings on the silent lives. That is great. That is great. Come on in, early birds. Come on in, early birds. So, like I said, we'll go 3 or more hours for the silent lives in the morning at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. And with that being said, this slide was brought to you by Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. His link is in the chat, folks. His link is in the chat. Go and check him out. Take care. Bye-bye.